My name is Kai Aster. I'm 17 years old. I'm just an ordinary high school student, that's all. At least, that's what I thought. My life was completely ordinary. I woke up at 6 every morning, drank the delicious hot coffee my mother made, went to school, joked around with my friends, came home, studied, and that was how each day ended. But my nights were never ordinary. Every night, the same dream always began in the same place. A sky engulfed in flames, black rain, 7 shattered stone pillars, a battlefield where thousands of swords were buried deep into the ground. Even though it was only a dream, I could smell the blood, smoke, piles of corpses. And in the middle of it all, someone was standing there. Silver-colored hair, white clothes, golden eyes. He was looking directly at me, as if he had known me for a very long time. Kai! My name! He knew my name! My breath caught in my throat. Find me! His voice drifted toward my ears with the wind. I started running toward him. Wait! I ran as fast as I could, reaching out for him. Then the sky split open. 2 enormous black shadows emerged and dragged him away. He reached one hand toward me. Don't be late. I jolted awake. I could barely breathe. My entire body was drenched in sweat. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst out of my chest. My room was still dark. I stared at the ceiling for a moment, wondering what that dream really meant. 3 months. 3 months of the same dream. That young man was someone I had never seen before in my life. Then why did he keep telling me to find him before it was too late? Kai! I was still lost in thought when I heard my mother's voice from downstairs. Wake up! It's Monday! I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Okay, Mom. I checked the clock. 6:18 a.m. Damn, I was late. I quickly got out of bed and went to the window. It was raining heavily outside. The sky was gray. I guess today was going to be just another ordinary day, or at least that's what I thought. I had no idea that this was the day my entire life would begin to change. I quickly got dressed and hurried downstairs. Mom was in the kitchen preparing breakfast while listening to her favorite song on the radio. This was the one scene every morning that always made me feel peaceful. Good morning, Mom. I pulled out a chair and sat down. Mom smiled at me. Did you sleep well? Kai, are you okay? I was surprised by the question. What? Kai, I can always tell when you're lying to me. I forced a smile. Yeah, it was completely fake. Stop thinking about it too much. Mom gently ran her hand through my hair. Some things, they're just dreams. I nodded. I still didn't think to ask how Mom knew about my dreams. I gave her a quick kiss, grabbed my lunchbox, and ran out the door. The rain was still pouring outside. Another ordinary Monday morning, or so I thought. I quickly changed and ran to the bus stop with my lunchbox. The bus was packed as usual, but after going a little farther, I managed to find a seat by the window. I stared at the rain-soaked streets outside. The roads in town slowly became busier. People began getting caught up in their own lives, but somehow I felt like I was the only one trapped in a completely different world.
Kekai! A familiar voice pulled me out of my thoughts. I looked up. It was Ethan. He walked over and dropped into the seat beside me. What's with that face? Nightmare again? How did this guy always know? I decided to ask him. How can you always tell? I can tell just by looking at your face. Whenever you have one of those dreams, you look like you've just come back from a funeral. Thanks. Welcome. We both laughed. Ethan was my best friend. I had never told him everything about the dream, but somehow he always knew when something was wrong with me. That was probably why he had become my best friend. The bus stopped near the school. We got off and walked through the school gate together. Students were everywhere. Some were running around, some were talking about exams that hadn't even arrived yet, and another group was already hunting for gossip near the cafeteria. As for us, we definitely weren't interested in gossip. That day felt completely normal. At least I thought it did. Then, without realizing it, my eyes drifted toward the tower on the northern side of the school, the North Tower. Every other building in the school was modern, but that tower was completely different. Its walls were made of enormous black stones, rising so high they seemed to touch the sky. Red and blue stained glass windows were covered with thick vines. Whenever I looked at it, I felt something strange, as if the tower had been waiting for me. Kai slowly stepped closer to the strange light, his heart pounding as the symbols on the wall began to glow. What is this place? A sudden whisper echoed through the room. Kai. He froze. That voice. He had heard it before, in his dreams. Who are you? Kai whispered. The light grew brighter, revealing a hidden doorway beneath the ancient symbols, and from the other side came a voice he never expected to hear. You finally found the gate. Kai stared at the hidden doorway, unable to move. The strange symbols continued to glow, casting a pale light across the room. Then the door slowly opened. A cold breeze swept past him. Kai took a hesitant step forward. Is someone there? No answer. He looked into the darkness beyond the doorway and felt a strange sense of familiarity, as if he had been there before. Then, from somewhere beyond the gate, a faint golden light appeared. Kai swallowed hard. What am I supposed to find in there? The moment he stepped closer, the symbols behind him suddenly went dark, and the doorway began to close. Kai stared at the strange symbol glowing on his palm. It pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. What is this? He rubbed his palm, hoping the symbol would disappear, but it remained. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his hand. Kai gasped and stumbled backward, clutching his palm. Then, for a few seconds, a strange vision appeared before his eyes. A massive castle stood beneath a dark violet sky. Kai froze. He had never seen that place before. Yet somehow it felt strangely familiar. Before he could understand what he was seeing, the vision disappeared. Kai stood there, breathing heavily as he stared at the mysterious symbol on his palm. What is happening to me? He had no answer. But one thing was becoming clear. Whatever was behind that gate had somehow found him. Kai remained frozen for a moment, staring at the place where the vision had appeared. The castle was gone. The strange symbol on his palm had also stopped glowing. He slowly lowered his hand. Maybe I imagined it. Kai tried to convince himself, but deep down he knew that wasn't true. He looked around the empty chamber. Everything was silent again. Then he noticed something on the floor. A small silver pendant lay beneath the ancient wall. Kai crouched down and picked it up. The moment his fingers touched it, the symbol on his palm began to glow again. Kai's eyes widened. This time he knew it wasn't a coincidence. Kai stared at the silver pendant in his hand. It was old, but strangely beautiful. A small symbol was engraved at its center, the same symbol that had appeared on his palm. Kai's expression changed. No way. He turned the pendant over, searching for something else. There was a tiny inscription carved into the back. Before he could read it clearly, the pendant suddenly became warm in his hand. The symbol on his palm glowed brighter. Then a faint whisper filled the empty chamber. Find the truth. Kai looked around quickly. Who said that? There was no one there, only silence. Kai tightened his grip around the pendant. For the first time, he realized that this wasn't just a strange discovery. Someone, or something, was trying to lead him somewhere. Kai looked around the chamber, but there was no one there. The whisper had disappeared as quickly as it had come. He looked down at the silver pendant again. Find the truth. The words echoed in his mind. What truth? And why was someone trying to guide him? Kai slipped the pendant into his pocket and stood up. He had already spent too much time in the abandoned building. He turned toward the exit and began walking. But just before he reached the doorway, he stopped. For a moment, he felt as if someone was watching him. Kai slowly turned around. The chamber was completely empty. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't alone. Kai slowly stepped toward the doorway. The strange feeling of being watched grew stronger with every step. He looked over his shoulder one last time. Nothing. Kai finally left the chamber and walked through the dark corridor. The old building was unusually quiet. Then he heard a faint sound behind him. Footsteps. Kai stopped. The footsteps stopped too. He turned around. Hello? No answer. His heart began to race. Kai continued walking, trying not to look back again. But then he noticed something strange. A faint golden light was coming from the end of the corridor, and somehow it looked exactly like the light he had seen behind the hidden gate. Kai slowly approached the golden light. With every step, the symbol on his palm became brighter. He stopped a few feet away and stared at the strange glow. It wasn't coming from a lamp, it was coming from the wall itself. Kai reached out carefully. The moment his fingers touched the stone, the golden light suddenly spread across the entire wall. Ancient symbols appeared one after another. Kai stepped back in shock. Then the silver pendant in his pocket began to vibrate. He quickly pulled it out. The symbol on the pendant was glowing brightly now. Kai stared at it, unable to believe what was happening. Then, slowly, a thin line appeared across the stone wall. A hidden doorway was beginning to open. Kai stood completely still as the hidden doorway slowly opened. A warm golden light spilled into the corridor. He raised his hand to shield his eyes. For a moment, he could see nothing beyond the doorway. Then the light faded slightly. Kai slowly lowered his hand. Beyond the doorway was a long stone passage, unlike anything he had ever seen before. The walls were covered with strange symbols. His silver pendant began to glow brighter. Kai took a deep breath. He knew he should turn around. He knew he should leave. But something inside him told him to keep going. So Kai stepped through the doorway. The moment his foot touched the other side, the doorway behind him slowly disappeared. Kai slowly turned around. The doorway was gone. Only an ancient stone wall remained behind him. His heart sank. Wait. He placed his hand against the wall and searched for the doorway. Nothing. Kai took a deep breath and looked down the long passage ahead. There was no way back. The silver pendant in his hand gave off a faint golden glow, almost as if it was showing him the way. Kai tightened his grip around it. Okay, I guess I have to keep going. He took his first step into the darkness. With every step, the strange symbols carved into the walls began to glow. And somewhere deep within the passage, something moved. Kai walked slowly through the ancient passage. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the darkness. With every step he took, another symbol on the walls began to glow. Kai stopped. He stared at the illuminated markings. They're reacting to me. A faint sound came from somewhere ahead. Kai froze. Something had moved in the darkness. He raised the silver pendant, using its soft golden light to see farther down the passage. Nothing. Kai took another cautious step. Then he heard it again. A quiet voice echoed through the corridor. Kai. His eyes widened. Someone here knew his name. Kai froze the moment he heard his name. His heart began to pound. Who's there? For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then the golden light from his pendant suddenly grew brighter. At the end of the passage, a tall figure appeared in the shadows. Kai couldn't see the person's face. He took a cautious step backward. Who are you? The figure slowly stepped forward. Before Kai could see him clearly, the entire passage filled with golden light. Kai raised his arm to protect his eyes. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the light disappeared. The figure was gone. Kai stood alone in the silent passage, still holding the glowing pendant. He looked ahead, his mind filled with questions. Who was that person? How did they know his name? And why had the hidden gate brought him here? Kai took a deep breath and continued walking. He didn't know it yet, but from that moment on, his ordinary life was about to change forever.
Chapter 2. Coming soon. The gate has opened. The ancient power has awakened. And Kai is about to discover that the world he knows is only a small part of the truth. A forgotten world awaits beyond the shadows. Chapter 2. Coming soon.